Hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you for taking some time to check out this video. A lot has been put out there about the morning flush, and I've been using it quite a bit, and I know it's starting to kind of pick up some momentum because this is a scalp market right now. Hopefully this changes soon. Today, if you're seeing this video, it is on August 20th, so it's a Friday, so we're going to probably have some light volume still, as it's still a summer Friday. So what I've been doing is scalping more often. I think a lot of people are as well. So scalping is day trading essentially. And basically what you're trying to do is identify in the morning flush process of scalping, because there's a couple different ways. I have videos on other ones, but the morning flush play is essentially identify what's moving early, the pre-market gappers, right? So what's going pre-market, whether it's news or just getting some extra volume, whatever it might be, that is really up there, right? And what happens is oftentimes those are going to, they're going to skyrocket, and they're going to get, there's a sell-off point, right? It's RSI is one of the indicators that I'll show you, and it's going to get sold off. It's just at some point it's going to hit a mark, it's going to hit resistance, and it's going to bounce back, right? So a lot of times what happens is it does that right at open. Right at open is when institutions are able to sell. It's when you're going to see a lot of just drop off in general. I also think that there's probably some manipulation around it in order to get those who can't trade pre-market an opportunity to kind of get in. My own feelings on that one, but either way, whatever it is, at the open, so at 9:30 when the market officially opens, there's pretty much always a dip. All right. Now, identifying where that dip is super important, because if it's a small dip, it can keep going, and now you can be out and down pretty quickly. And if it doesn't bounce back up, you've got a pretty tough situation. So what I like to do is find really the lower levels of support. Now, you miss out on some of these on the plays as well when you do a lower level of support, but it's also the safest way, because even if it falls under support, it's really at a low level already. So you're minimizing your risk and you're maximizing your profit potential. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what that means in a second, but I'm going to start off here with the what I use. All right, the system. All right, step by step. So first is the tools. All right, so I use TradingView. I do have a paid membership in GRNQ. Well, there's one of the tools that I'm going to show you in a second as well that you just heard there. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. So what I'm doing here, and what I use is TradingView. So I do use a paid version of TradingView, and you can see I have a few different indicators, and TradingView is just a great tool in general. Okay, so that's one of them. Another one is Finvis. All right, so Finvis is I'm sure you know what it is, but I have upgraded to the Elite here. Gives me the ability to find, just a great way to see the screeners, but also the chart. So I have some preset screeners in here. I actually have the morning flush watch list. Now, this doesn't start till 8 a.m. It is 8:11, so we have up-to-date info. The one thing I don't love about Finvis is it actually doesn't start pulling data until 8 a.m. And that's Eastern. So, sometimes you can, miss a little bit of the early runners, but for this purpose, for the morning flush, it actually works out quite well. So what I'm seeing right here is my watch list is already populating with 3. All right. Now, there's others, but this is the first 3 that are kind of popping up here. And I'll show you how we get to some of the others as well. The other one is a program called Gaps. Now, this is more expensive, and this is just a great scanner. This is an alert program that is used for just day trading, but also can give you a great opportunity to take a look at the morning flush plays, because like GRNQ, SSY, these GOVX, these are all things that have popped up this morning, and they're running this morning. All right, so now I'm getting fresh alerts of stuff that is, number one, you can make money off on scalping pre-market, and then number 2, those are also turns into morning flush plays as well. All right, so those are the 3 tools that I use primarily. All right. So then I'm going to go into the next steps of this. The next step is find those gappers. All right. So the number one, and I'll do a full video on what I use in Finvis, but if it's after 8 a.m. and you're using, and you can do the free version of Finvis also, you're just going to go in and what I look for in my presets here, very, very simple. Nothing, not doing anything crazy. I'm just looking for relative volume of over 3. The relative volume is their volume this particular day or this particular time is over the average of the last, I believe it's the last 3 months of their daily trading volume. All right, so it's over 3. You can go down a little bit. You can go down to 2, see if that opens up anything. So it did. It opened up one more, right? I don't really want to go lower than that because I want to see something that's really picking up some good volume. And I also want to see a gap of up 15%. That's it. Super simple. Now, I also like to look under 10. Now, I don't even have to put this preset in because typically, actually, it did pull that one out. So I'm going to go under 15, though. Under 10 is typically going to move the most, but GBNY just had some news, I think. So maybe keeping it under 15, but you're not going to see anything really that's going to be moving too much beyond that. Now, the one thing that I have done in the past and does happen in gaps is I've also added low float. So you want to do under about 50 million on that one, see if it pulls anything out, but they're already pretty low float anyway. Typically anything that's going to move that much is going to be. All right, so those are it. Again, I just make it super simple, and I can always pare it down if I want to, is just keeping it at over 3 and 15 gap, right? That gives me 3. If I need to expand out, I can. But again, that's not the only one. So right now I'm going to put in SSY, GBNY, and GVOX in my watch list. All right, so I saw it, and CATB moved before. That actually flushed already. So I'm going to pull that out because it got shot down afterwards. So again, that was on my watch list before. It's off. So I'm going GVOX. It's in there. Now, to make this simple, you're also going to see this right into TradingView as well. Now, in TradingView, doesn't have quite the data that you're pulling from, but you can get your pre-market change, and that's really where it's going to match up on most of those. So we looked at GRNQ, right? So we're going to add that. Now, this is one that just popped up, so it's likely going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Okay. MIRN we saw in there. And then I think in my watch list here, we had SSY as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And that one looks like I have to search. So go ahead and do that. All right. So those are, now we've got 5. And again, I don't want to go crazy with these. So I don't want to go really beyond, 5 typically, unless there's, something else that's really, sticking out. And right now we just had GRNQ. So we've got that SSY. And then, so we've got, I think we're pretty good with those. Now stuff's going to pop up during the morning. There might be some news that pops up. And again, you want to take a look at what's happening with these as well. So we've got, again, we've added NDRA. That popped up. I'm not going to go with these because you can see the volume on these are actually not great yet. So I put NDRA in there, but I'm probably not going to go crazy with it. Now I'm just going to take a look at volume. All right, so just to kind of see if there's anything else that just hasn't popped up yet on some of the other scanners, I'm just going to look at pure volume, right? So one that's in here that's interesting is NAKD. Now this is one that moves and has moved already this morning, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. Now SONN, you can see that there's a lot of volume, but the pre-market gap is actually down. So there was an offering this morning. I'm not going to touch that, right? So you're looking for stuff that is flying and has positive momentum, not negative. Same thing with PROG. I think that had an offering as well. So that's not good. All right. So we're good. So I want to look at those. I'm going to take 6, 5 or 6 is really the most. Now I want to start charting. This is where TradingView becomes so important. So we're going to start charting. All right. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to get this a little bit closer. And I want to start. Why is this? So these views got a little weird this morning. But anyway, so I'm going to go in here and I want to start looking at, again, we're scalping. We're day trading here. So I want to look at short time intervals. All right. So we can go down anywhere between 1 and 45, absolutely the most. I'm not going into hours, certainly not going into days or weeks, right? So even getting it down to the 1 minute, right? And it's going to start to give me an idea of what I'm looking at. Now, these green line and red, those are my two highest conviction levels. That's an algorithm that I use, and anybody wants to reach out, I'll give you all the indicators I use. And that's going to give me the exact, the highest level of conviction of support and resistance, right? Now, TradingView for some reason is looking a little bit funny this morning. I'm going to refresh this and see if that helps out, because usually it's a little bit. All right, that's a little better. Okay. So this is giving me a really good look at, my support and resistance, right? So I'm going to start with a 3 minute, and I'm going to look at this. So I'm looking at GOVX, right? So GOVX right now on the 3 minute has a high level of support at around 725. So right in that middle, right? So then, but a little bit of a 729 down to maybe 720 or so is really the levels. Now, then I've got my other levels here. I've got my level about 715 after that. And then I've got, then it starts to flush and it really goes down. Now, on the high side, it looks like it can bounce all the way up to about 820, 825, give or take. All right. So right now it's at 740, 746, 740 actually. And so, and it's a little bit of a decline. If you scroll out, you can kind of see, that it got up here, all the way up, and it actually had a peak of about 9, right? So this is, as you can see, this is where the peaks are, and that's where you can start to see higher highs and lower lows. You can see it's got the lower lows are still moving up, so it's still on an uptrend. Higher highs are still moving up, but now it's started to come down. So we're starting to see a little bit of a lower highs. So I want to keep an eye on that. But again, this is on the 3 minute. We've got some good support, but it does go down pretty quick. So I'm going to be careful with this one, and then I'm going to start to look out a little bit further. All right, so I'm going to go to the 5 minute. And 5 minute stays pretty tight on that 720 range. My super trend algo is showing that it is trending up still, but it's starting to flat out quite a bit. And then that super trend has a support of about 689 or so. Now, here's where it concerns me. It does have a major flush opportunity. Support beyond that starts to really go down. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to start to mark off my levels. Okay, so my 3 and my 5, I'm looking at, a pretty good support in the 720 range. And if I go to 715, now it starts to drop pretty heavy, and I'm getting a little concerned. So I want to look at those, and this is starting to look like a little bit of a riskier play. Now, what I might do here is look at a 720 flush entry and look to get to about 825 or so. Okay, so 720. Looks like it's pretty good support down there, and down to 715 at most. And then again, you get to that 820, 825, that's it. So we're talking about maybe $1, which isn't too bad. But I'm going to look at this in the morning, and if it starts and it continues to drop, I am not going to stay in this past about 715, maybe 712, 710, right? So I'm going to go 720, stop loss at 710, and I would put I'm going to go a little bit lower to about 820 if I can get in, right? So basically I'm looking at a range for about 720 to 820, so $1. You put in 1,000 shares, and you've got $1,000 real quick. And I know that sounds high, so maybe you go down, a little bit lower, and even if it's 500 shares, you make $500. Not a ton, but again, if you do that over a course of a couple times during the day, or a course of the week, it adds up. And again, you're playing really tight here, right? So that it can bounce, off that 720 level, right? But also that it can flush big if it breaks that. So you're not risking too much here, as long as you're staying into it and you're getting set up pretty quickly to put into the when you set up your plays. And I'll go through that in a second as well. So I know this is a little bit of a long video, but I want to make sure I'm thorough with this. All right. So again, same thing, right? So I'm just looking at each one. And again, I'll give you the indicators that show me that show you this. If you just go into indicators and you type in support, resistance, and some other stuff, you're going to find some automatically. But I will show the ones that I use. Now, this is a good one. Now, GRNQ. Now, this is a great flush opportunity, right? Look at all this that went up there, but it's got some pretty heavy support here. I'm looking at down pretty low. Now, I'm going to go low with this one. And if I don't get in, I don't get in. Not a big deal, right? Because it hasn't even updated yet. It's moving so quickly right now. Hasn't even updated as far as where it could go on a peak. But it's giving me an idea that it can hit up there pretty quickly as well. But I'm also going to be very careful with this. So you're seeing levels already, of 0.65, are pretty heavy support. But then under that, there's almost nothing. So I would go ahead. I would put this in at 0.65. And I know that sounds like a lot, but again, this is flying. It's going to get flushed. It's going to flush more at open, but then it's got levels. Then you start to get levels, and then once this updates entirely, you're going to see that there's, it's going to update the higher highs and the lower lows, and we're going to get an idea of where it can go. And if it's already hit $1.30 today, it can go back to 0.6. It's just like a yo-yo. It's just going to go back and forth. And it can easily go back up to that 1.3 level. Now, I might not get into this one, but I also don't want to risk much. All right, that's I want to be very careful with these that I'm not risking. Now, RSI just is nuts with this. Insane at 97. So this is gonna flush any second now, and then it's going to continue to flush, and then it'll flush again. It might bounce around pre-market, and then it'll flush again at open. And I'm going to try to get in at 0.65, and if I do, great. If I don't, there's plenty of other opportunities here. NDRA, you can see this one's coming down a little bit already, but you can see some volume and some buying picking up. I do like that there is some levels of support being created here. First one is 1.44, heavy one is 1.42. It's shot up, pretty quickly, came back down, and it looks like it's starting to create a nice resistance. Now, here's what I'm liking here on this one is my super trend algo is starting to move it up, showing a positive, and it's really just getting started here. So this is a nice one to look into, and I will keep an eye on this. Looks very volatile right now, but you can see that we've got some good ranges here. Not a terrible drop. So even bottom support is about 130. So I would look at this one right now. I would look to get into this. I would put a 130 because I am looking at bottom support, and I'm looking to, be very safe with it. So my NDRA right now would be, so I'd put a buy order in at 1.31, but I'm seeing that it can get up there because it did already hit about 180, some good volume. There's a resistance of about 150 here. So if I get in 131, I'm going to take a look at where resistance goes pre-open. This is going to update, right? And I'm going to start to see, all right, good. I'm starting to see it here. Right. So again, we're looking at a pretty good level here. 133 is another level of support, very good support. I'm gonna bash through this just because it's a little bit high. I'm gonna actually look up a little bit lower. I'm gonna go 133, and then I see that there's a 146. And then look at that. Now we start to get resistance points. And so this is smart money flow. So this is where some people are setting their stop losses. Their limit sells at. So you can see already this is being bought into. So this looks like a great runner right here. And I would look to target this at about 1.7 to 1.8. And that could be a great opportunity right there. So I'm gonna look at that. So I'm not gonna go through the rest of these. I think you get an idea because I know this is getting a little bit long. So what I'm gonna do here now is now the important part is setting up your buy orders. So I set up just a paper account in here, and this is a great way to test all this stuff. I want everybody to kind of take a look at this and get kind of a feel. I don't even know what this is here. I'm gonna reset because this isn't. So using the paper trading, it's the best thing that I've been able to identify when testing out new plays, right? So, I have my accounts. Obviously, I have three accounts. I have Webull, I have TD, and I have Robinhood. And I kind of play them all differently. Webull is where I do most of the scalp plays, and I'll show you why in a second. But to test these, right, go and do this in a paper account, right? Just like if you're a baseball player or a football player or whatever it is, it's practice, right? So go and practice these. Go have a little more fun, and see how these work in a paper account first before you put anything in play and actually risk any real money, or risk small money in your regular account and then look at what can happen if you start to push these a little bit further. So I'm going to show you exactly how to put these in place when you're doing a morning flush type of trade. All right. So what I'm doing here is I'm going into to my paper trade. It looks just like a regular Webull account, if you guys have that. And you can do these in any other account as well, but I think this one has the most ability to be very quick and get in and out of plays the best. So we looked at GOVX, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put in GOVX. All right, so we got GOVX. It gives you a little bit. You don't have level 2 data in here, at least on the paper one. But again, it gives you a little bit of an idea of where things are at and where people are buying at and that type of stuff right now, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and again, I'm going to set my buy order. You're going to set a limit, and a quantity is whatever you are comfortable with. So I'm just going to put in 1,000 right now, right? So again, this is paper trading. I'm just testing it. It's $4,270 of not real money. I typically would want to do at least $5,000 when I'm doing a scalp trade anyway, because otherwise, you're not looking for ton. I mean, you can, like GOVX ran 50, 60% yesterday. And that was actually before this morning where it went another 20, 30%. But, this is one that, if you're looking for 5 to 10% and being able to get out. Right. And so if you're doing 5,000, you're looking at 250 to 500. Ideally, you want to be able to get more over the course of the day. And I'll put $10,000, $15,000 into a play and, hopefully get 10 to 15% out of those bigger ones as well. So again, we're doing paper trading, whatever is comfortable with you. This one, you can do whatever you want. You get $1 million in your paper trade account. So, you can go nuts with it. Anyway, so we're going to go in, and now this flushed already. And this is where it's very important to keep an eye on things. This actually flushed. So we were going to do 720, and you can see that this actually flew. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to take a look and see what's going on. And that's what I said before. I was a little concerned. I saw that there was getting lower lows on here. And, as you start to see that, you start to see now we're sitting into a downtrend. So now we're looking at, 6.8, and then now it can actually flush pretty heavy. So I'm going to actually stay away from GOVX. And go ahead, and I'll keep an eye on it. I'll keep it on the watch list. It could, start to find some support levels down a little bit lower. But right now, I've got a pretty big gap here. And this is kind of, it has to hold 598 at this point. So that's a big level. I'm not going to touch that. Too volatile this morning. Ran yesterday. So we're going to hold off on that. But the next one we're going to do is the GRNQ. All right, so I'm going to go back in here. So now I'm going to go GRNQ. And again, this is one that I wanted to go pretty low. I see this one flushing out pretty big. Now, again, I might miss it. I might not make it. But I want to go all the way down to 0.65. All right, so that's my limit price. That's the highest price I am willing to pay to get into it. Now, you can still see there's volume being put in place here. Some of this is short volume, but you can see that there's others that are feeling pretty similar. So I think that this will flush out. I'm going to buy it again. I'm going to put in maybe 5,000 or whatever, and I'm going to go in. And you want to do extended hours, because if this does flush prior, it's not a bad thing as long as you can then go in and set your stop loss. So you got to be careful about that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in my good old paper trade here, and that gives me, now I'm set. It'll populate here in a second to buy that at 0.65. If it ever gets to 0.65, then I'm not in it, and there's going to be other plays. I just don't want to get caught with something. If I put this in much higher, right, and I put this in for now, and it flushes down to 0.65, I just lost half of my initial investment, right? And even some of the other ones as well, other levels of support here. This is just so high right now. The RSI is just, it's just so overbought. There's no way that this is, possible, sustainable. But, it's got some opportunity, and everything is moving in the right direction, that once it flushes out, it could. Now, you can also go ahead, if you want, and put a smaller buy order at the first level of support, at about 0.77, and then, a small buy order, see if it bounces off that and add to it. And then if it goes down, and you can buy down all the way down to 0.65, another option for you as well. All right, so I'm going to, and this is getting a little bit long, so I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the next steps. So the next steps is identify those, and then you can see the support, resistance, buy range. You put those in, set up your buy orders. Again, I use Webull primarily, so just because of this next steps, and this is my actual Webull account. And so this is where I'm going to put in, let's say AMC is one that I wanted to I had that up here, right? So I wanted to put this in on AMC, and I knew that now I had my level. So let's say my stop loss, was 31, and my limit price was, 39, whatever. I'm just making these up. Right. So then I'm going to go ahead. I am going to do these in day because I want to get these out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place my order, and that's going to give me basically the comfort that this is now in automation. Once it hits my stop loss, I'm out. Stinks, lost a little bit, but again, we're putting very conservative levels on it. But my limit price is where I want to focus on. So now we've got the opportunity to make a pretty good profit on that. So you want to make sure you're putting that. So once your buy order is put in, so we put this GRNQ in. That buy order hits at the flush. All right, now you own it. Now you quickly want to be able to go in and do your. Now this one does not have the ability to do that same thing, which is why I'm showing you the actual account. But you want to do a stop loss and a take profit and be able to get out, in kind of an automation. And you know what? If it keeps going after your limit price, great. You want to be able to make your profits and go home, and that's where the next one is, right? So once a buy order is met, quickly put in your stop loss and take profit levels. These can be updated. Right. So once you put that in, you can go back in and modify it. Right. So you can also keep track of what's going on here. You start to see some of your resistance levels moving. Right. And you start to pull back. Now, this one, again, is going crazy, but you can see that there's resistance levels that are going to continue to move as data populates. And this is all real time, which is great. Now you're going to want to, you can modify it if you want. Right. And keep moving your stop loss up a little bit, and you can move your limit sell up a little bit as well. All right. And the last one is always take profits. So again, make sure you're taking profits. And again, when you're looking for a morning flush play, I'm looking for 5 to 10% and then move on, and maybe playing 2 different plays that, reach my limit, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. Then there's going to be other opportunities, scalp plays, some other stuff. You're also going to have your swing plays that we put in here, the swing trade alerts, all that other stuff. So you're going to have your other stuff that you're going to be into, but this is a great way to identify the morning gappers and be able to turn, some of those into some, quick money, 500,000, maybe sometimes 1,500 to 2,000. I posted one yesterday. Yesterday. I forget exactly what it was. I could put that in here, but anyway, it was about $2,400 within the first hour of trading, just from this morning flush. So it's a great opportunity. Again, you can start small, you can paper trade, you can do whatever it is, but once you get this down, there's a very significant way to repeatedly make some good money every single morning, and then how you want to play the rest of the day, is totally up to you. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks a lot, guys. Hopefully this can help. I know that it was a longer video than I anticipated, but I wanted to be thorough with it. But again, any questions, and I'll try to make some specific videos on each step over time as well. Talk to you soon.